So open source software is where the software source code, the actual code that's been used to make it, is made freely available on the internet. So there's some really well-known versions of open source software, known things like Apache, Firefox, VLC Player, Linux. The most common one probably is a whole operating system, Android, which is open source. So anybody can see the code and anybody can freely use Android. Most people don't realize that. So if you think to how long this video will stay, this will stay true. But if you think of all the mobile phone manufacturers like Samsung, Sony, etc., etc., they often, when you buy their phones, they've got Android. But Android's made by Google. So why would they have a Google operating system on their phones? Because it was, I don't know, 5 years ago, loads of phones tried to come up with their own operating systems. But Google's got really good, and because it's free, there's going to be some football updates, sorry about that. Because it's free, lots of manufacturers use it. So Google make their money, although it's free, they've developed it to a point, or they're still developing it, but then it's open source, so other people develop it as well. Because it's got good enough that loads of people want it now, they make their millions because they make from all the App Store purchases and adverts and things like that through it, even though they're not charging for the operating system itself. So anyway, open source software is when software is made freely available and you can see the source code. And the good points about it is usually free, so it's good for a user. It's made for the greater good and not for profit, unless you're clever like Google. So you can think it's made for the greater good, but they're making lots of profit. Can be adapted by users to fit their needs. Because you can see the code, if you're clever enough, you can actually change the code and tailor it to you, basically, which you can't do with lots of other types of software. Online community of collaborators is generally there. So if you add something online, people will generally help you out and make it better. And the popular open source software is incredibly reliable and secure. The downside is it may not get regular updates because you're not paid for it and nobody's responsible for it. It may not get updated very regularly. So if there's a bug in it, right, here you go, the next one, small projects could be buggy. Sometimes some open source software is buggy, especially the smaller ones. And it can have some security holes because nobody's responsible for making it entirely secure. Because it's free, you can't hold anybody to account. There's limited documentation. Again, you can't hold anybody to account if things go wrong. And there's no dedicated customer support. So you can't phone anybody and go, your software that you've given me for free isn't working properly. It's free. Okay, so you get what, essentially that whole saying, you get what you pay for. Some open source software is absolutely amazing, and then others can be quite buggy.